Hello, everybody. You're tuned into the Roulette Apprenticeship podcast. Oh, sorry. We're not doing. This is the Blackjack Apprenticeship podcast, where we talk about all things card counting and blackjack. And with my two guests I have with me today, we're going to be answering all of your questions that you've submitted on the Blackjack Apprenticeship YouTube channel, on the Blackjack Apprenticeship forum. So looking forward to diving into these complex, mysterious topics around card counting. Colin Jones, SD1. How are we doing?
Yo.
Doing great. And if you haven't subscribed to the PyGao Apprenticeship podcast, make sure you do that.
Highly recommend.
Let's dive right in here. Approximately what salary would you say a card counter makes? I know this is heavily dependent on your bankroll, but on average, what would you say a pro counter salary is?
Yeah, that's a good question. We're working on a new video that'll be like, kind of how much you can make. I think that there is a lot of question about this. And for a pro, I'm assuming that they're making at least $100,000 a year. Probably less than, if it's just straight counting, probably less than $500,000 a year, but hopefully at least 100,000. I mean, you can kind of do the math of what EV you could expect. I think for a pro, probably the average is going to be around 250 an hour, you think? And if you're trying to play 1,000 hours, well, I'm no mathematician, but that would be 200 to 250K of EV. You're going to have expenses too, and variance, of course. You could have a good year or a bad year, but I think that's kind of what I would expect.
You can definitely trust that math, guys. He's being modest. Colin Jones does have a math degree.
At the last boot camp, so I have a presentation that I do at the boot camp where I break down hour for hour, earnings and things like that, and breaking out over the year and days so you can see it all charted out. But a boot camper asked me, he was trying to get a gauge for how much was it really on average did you make per year when you were playing full time for 5 or 6 years? And I told him the amount, and he was trying to figure it out. He was like, well, that breaks out to, and I had to stop him. I was like, but that's, you're assuming that I'm playing like every day, like a normal desk job throughout the whole year.
40 hours a week.
And it's like, no, this is like, I played maybe 35% of the year, and I took the rest of the year off all those years, like on average. So,
yeah, I mean, 1,000 is a lot for a pro. I think you're being a slacker if you're doing this full time and getting less than or you're not getting at least 500 hours.
And the big benefit is, again, you're generating $100,000, $200,000 a year of income. And to Joe's point, you are not working even close to the amount of hours that a quote unquote normal job is working.
There's the hours that aren't at the table. So to play 20 hours a week at the table is going to take a lot more than 20 hours of effort, but there's the flexibility. So, we're not saying you should try to go pro, but if you do, this is a little bit of what I would expect. Yeah. And if you want to do this for decades, you're going to need to add other AP skills to your repertoire. If you're like Joe and I, where it's like, just go really hard for a few years and build a nest egg and start doing other things, you can do that approach.
yeah, I'd say if you're the average, player taking time off, 100 to 200,000 is usually probably safe. And then if you're grinding like it's a full-time regular office job, then you're probably on the higher end, 300, 400, 500,000.
And if you're doing that with straight counting, you will burn out after a few years, not because you can't find a place to play. You're just going to be burned out. I would think, but that was my goal. My goal was, this is the best opportunity I have for now. I'm going to go after it. And, then it turned into running teams. But even the running team stuff, we're already trying to start other internet businesses and stuff way back in the day.
Let's talk about that real quick, because I always get this question. People, I don't know if they don't believe me, or they kind of just don't understand. They're like, well, if you were making 300,000-400,000 and you're saying you're sick of doing it, like, how could you be sick of doing it, only working part of the year and making X amount? Why do we get sick of playing?
Gerald Purpose had some great answers. One, he said, like, counting cards is boring. When people ask me all the time, like, oh, how much do you play? Or last night, after 2 days of a boot camp, which is 12-hour days for me. They're like, you can go out and play tonight? And I'm like, dude, I've played so much blackjack.
Right.
It's not my first thought is like, can I go do more of this thing? I think another is the travel can burn you out. It could be hard maintaining relationships if you're traveling all the time. I mean, I was married. And so, every trip I was gone was, a strain. It was worth it, but how many years do you want to, and how much do you want to be gone? And the back offs can wear you out. The variance can wear you out. So I don't mean to sound like a killjoy, but like, yeah, it's not all just like clocking in and clocking out. And I walked out with $200 an hour after an 8-hour day.
Yeah, I think 9 times out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10, this question always comes from a newer person. They've got the fire in the belly. They are super stoked and they are ready to rip, which is awesome. That's a great period of time in your career that you are excited and, use that and go at it hard. Like, I completely recommend that. But this is another reason that I personally and several others have gotten into other advantage play too. It's not just maybe the EV's more or the variance is less. It's not just that. It's less boring. Sometimes it's just mixing things up and having those other opportunities keeps a little bit of excitement in your career, which is important in any career.
Yeah, I would say if someone's asking this question, which is an absolutely valid question I would have had, but listen to our podcast where we interview both Burning Down the House and Scott Chow, because Burning Down the House took this extreme maximizer, got, whatever, $1 million in like 2 years or something like that, and was feeling super burned out. And then Scott Chow's like, hey, I've got a different, $1 million took a lot longer, but it was kind of didn't burn himself out so much, but you'll get a lot of wisdom listening to that. It might be members only, and so sorry if you don't have a membership, but that's a really good one. If you want to hear some people that have done, made $1 million and talk about their path there, it'll kind of open your eyes to maybe a little more what it's really like.
There are some mornings when I'd wake up in a hotel or motel and I literally don't know where I am, what state I just can't think. I can't remember where I am. And at first it's like, oh, it's so exciting. You're going all over the place. And yeah, it is really fun and exciting. And then after a while, after a few years, then it's like, I kind of like waking up knowing where I am now.
Yeah, I mean, that's real. And the same kind of thing happens like my last corporate job when I was traveling all the time. That happens too. And it sucks. It's not good. Everybody's like, it must be great and fun and exciting to travel all the time. And yes, it can be. And all of us have recommended, like on trips, that you take breaks from the casino and get out of the hellholes and like go out and enjoy your travel a little bit. But like, it really wears on you no matter what job is oriented that way. Same flights, same car rides, same hotel rooms, shitty soap that dries you out horribly.
Okay, some of the pros we were talking last night, we were after the boot camp about reminiscing about staying at Motel 6s and how it's just, I think JC Note was saying how he was like, do you guys ever, when you're using the soap at a Motel 6, you somehow feel dirtier than after you got in the shower?
That and the very, very coarse towels that are very small that are offered to you. That's
so
a typical,
rough.
Yeah.
Like, very like grit sandpaper and paper thin walls.
One thing I talked a little bit about at the boot camp is, talk about hobbyist, semi-pro, and a pro. And I think that a pro, well, obviously they're going to make the most money, but they probably won't enjoy card counting the most because it's a high stress thing. For me, it was such a great opportunity for those years that I was doing it full time. Would not have taken it back. Sometimes I wish I would have grinded harder or for a little bit longer while, before I had kids and all that. But it's more fun when it's on the side. You've got steady income and you get to just like do this thing to make extra money.
I will say, I think it's worth bringing a really high quality pillow with you if you are going to cheap out on the room, because at least you have the pillow.
It is. That's a really, really, really good point there, Joe.
Because those flat pillows are so terrible.
you fluff them up and you think you have it right, and then you wake up in the middle of the night and it's flat and your neck is like, it's concave and it's just like, ugh.
Stan Podolak has an awesome story about getting locked in his bathroom of his really, really dumpy motel when he's on this massive AP play, and it's so, like he's locked in there, and he's like, "What am I doing with my life? Like, why did I not pay for the $150 a night place?"
Did he have his phone with him, or was he trapped in it?
He was trapped in the bathroom without his phone. His bankroll is like in the bedroom part of the hotel.
Oh.
Anyway, it's a great story.
Do you prefer team play or solo play? Is it worth team play when you have to split the money? Is it difficult when the team member is underperforming or hitting bad variance?
This is another one where I'm working right now on a script for a video or whatever, an outline for a video on team play, the pros and cons of it. The biggest pro to it is, let's say SD1 has 10 grand. Let's say Joe748 has 10 grand and I have 10 grand, and we all are perfect card counters and we trust each other and we're going to play the same way in the casino. We can each bet off of a 30K bankroll. We can each generate way more EV than if we each play on our own 10K bankroll. That is by far the biggest advantage of a team, is pooling that bankroll. The second is you're going to smooth out the variance. Like, there will be times where all three are winning and all three are losing, but a lot of times it'll be like one or two are winning and one or two are losing. And so you get to the long run a lot faster. As far as like coordinated team play in a casino, it's a tool to have in a tool belt, but that is not 21 the movie. Those were unique opportunities and times where there would be these big fight nights and gamblers would be betting $5,000 a hand and they could do this coordinated stuff. And every casino in Vegas was an independent property back then. There's a different era. It's not where I've made most of my money. I have done team play. It's fun, but it's not like the holy grail of making money. So those are some of the pros. What are some of the cons of a team versus being on your own?
Yeah, I mean, if you have the bankroll, my kind of thought is why. Now, you miss out on having other people is, like, to me, and when thinking about team play, is the big plus. Like, you can live and share those moments of ups and downs and like unique experiences with somebody else, whether they're physically with you or you're coming back and you're talking to your team about it. Like, that's really cool. But ultimately, if you're going after the EV and you have the bankroll, you can efficiently go after that money on your own and make that money. And you're not splitting with anybody else. So you can be grinding away and you can be making very, very good money with the team, but ultimately you're still making less.
Not to be like a, joy kill, but for every team that's worked out, there are 4 or 5 that didn't work out for any number of reasons. I talk about in 21st Century Card Counter that our first team, we're making crazy amounts of money for our age and what we were doing, and the team dissolved over free gas, comped gas that we couldn't agree who it belonged to, and then one person's like sold their comp points to someone and pocketed it, and then was like, well, we should share this. It's part of it. Like all those sorts of it seems so silly in hindsight, but that could be a downside. But I agree with you, sharing the camaraderie. It doesn't have to be with the team, but I do think we need people to share this with. There's a quote I heard from a friend recently, and I think about it every week. It's joy shared is double the joy, and sorrow shared is half the sorrow. Like, just to share, like, oh man, I'm going through this and it's really hard. When you share that, which we do just as friends, life stuff, when you share that, it's not, the sorrow is not so low. And when you share those joys and other people are happy and excited with you, it's a lot more joy. You don't need a team for that, but like, absolutely. Our bankroll dinners, all those things were just such highlights.
I mean, Joe and I both predominantly have been solo. So, Joe, pros and cons of solo.
Yeah. Quick note on the team stuff is like a risk of ruin analogy. It's like, I think you have the potential for way more joy having a good team, but then also the risk of when things go bad, you're like, this totally isn't worth, the money is not worth this conflict and all this stuff happening, and it can turn really bad. And also when teams start to lose for the first time, If they're a new team, that's when all the cracks start to show and personalities really, the ugly side starts to come out. But yeah, pros of solo play. I mean, I think it's just the freedom aspect of it. It's ultimate freedom, solo play. You can play as long as you want. You can play how you want. You don't have to run it by anyone. You can choose to sacrifice EV for a specific reason without running it by a whole team, or you can just go at a pace that maybe other people wouldn't be able to keep up with. So as far as like efficient money, I'd say that's probably like number one. But then it's lonely.
Yeah. Well, so let's go to that point. So we both were solo. We had lonely times, but at the same time, we also had a little mix of what you get from team play because of BJA and friendships. Like, I mean, early in my career, I called you more than a few times and, asked advice and went through some misery, and you graciously listened to, probably things you didn't want to listen to, but like helped me through things. And also that doesn't eliminate opportunities for what we call temporary team plays.
I was going to say that there is a third option, which is like a trip bankroll or projects based,
which we've been on together. And those are really fun. So we get the high notes of that. And also because they're typically short term, you kind of fade the negativity that can happen from long-term team play.
Yeah, it's really fun. Maybe you guys attack the same region. You're not in the same casino, but you're in the same region. Then you meet up late at night and you go over what happened at your session. And that's like really fun to combine the solo players. Where are some of the best areas of the country to find Stand 17 games? I only see Hit 17 everywhere. How can I find the Stand 17 games?
There is one answer for this, for the best area for Stand 17. And it is state regulated.
Pennsylvania.
Yep. It's state regulated. The casinos are not allowed to change it. They have to offer 6-deck. They have to offer Stand 17. And I believe they have to offer surrender too. I think. I could be wrong on that.
I think so.
So in terms of finding that game, PA's your answer. Also, in the region, in the Midwest, when I first started learning, I learned Stand 17 as my primary method of play, specifically because there were enough Stand 17 games around. And, I looked at it as the better game, which it is. But I knew I could find opportunity on Stand 17, even down to like $25 tables. Having a 50K bankroll, that also opened up some high limit opportunities for me too, which a lot of times is where you're going to find your Stand 17s.
I was going to say that, yeah. High limit rooms are more likely to be Stand 17 than a main floor. But down in the South too, the sweaty sweaty South casinos can be Stand 17. So it's hit and miss. At Washington State, there's like 2 casinos with Stand 17, and and there's 100 casinos, maybe more. But yeah, Vegas, most high limits rooms, or if not all, like strip high limits rooms will have Stand 17, but it's going to be a $50, $100, maybe $200 minimum.
And I'm going to make it way easier for you guys. Okay, I actually just saw this the other day, but if you're a member of blackjackapprenticeship.com, we have a Casino 411 database, and that's all great and everything. But even better than that, if you go to the Casino 411, there's a little advanced search tab right there. If you click that, you can select you can select the Hit 17 or Stand 17. Press submit, and then it'll spit out every Stand 17 table in the entire country. I see right here there's 13 pages of Stand 17 games. It'll show you exactly where they are, all the information about it, reviews of what people have said about it. So easy way to find all the Stand 17 games in the country.
Yeah, this is a newer feature. I didn't mention it when I was saying all the new features on the last mailbag we did, but yeah, this is a new feature. You could sort by double deck. You could sort by Stand 17 or Hit 17 or 6-deck, obviously.
So for those 5K bankroll people out there, if you want to filter the entire country, double deck Stand 17, you can find it right away.
Yeah, I mean, that you bring up a good point, right? So a lot of times we hear this like all I ever see is Hit 17. Well, if you're a red chipper, that probably is your game.
Yeah,
a Hit 17 game,
which is all I played for like my first year or two.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Okay. We just recently uploaded a YouTube video, talking about the flow of the cards using simulations to prove that, it doesn't matter what the other players do. If they play stupid, it doesn't affect your game in the long run. Now, the question is, no one can play a billion hands, so what's the point of running so many sims? How does that pertain to you? Is that not realistic comparison?
Because anything else is noise. Okay. You say like, well, if you're not going to flip a coin a billion times, what's the point of saying it's a 50-50 proposition? Well, because it is a 50-50 proposition. The only way to prove that is a large enough sample size to remove the noise. So we do a billion rounds to rule out any noise, to say definitively, guys, there is no flow of the cards. But then people come back and say, well, yeah, with a billion rounds, but there's a micro flow of the cards maybe, or, there is not. People think the same thing with counting, where it's like, oh, 3 small cards came out, therefore it's more likely that big cards are going to follow. It doesn't work that way. It's in the large numbers, or as James Groshine says, the long run is found in the denominator.
Yeah, the reality is that most people that went through stats and probability hated stats and probability. But when Colin says noise, that's what we're talking about: statistical noise, irrelevant data. We're getting to what is relevant, and you just need to harken back to those lessons you probably hated on stats and probability, and that's kind of what proofs things out. So it's really important that we eliminate all that and get to what matters.
I mean, it was kind of a goofy video. It was kind of fun to do, and I love some of the responses, because either people get it or they are unwilling to get it.
Or they'll agree at first. They'll be like, I agree with this, but then they'll say, but then what about when this happens?
This is also like and we're not going to go off too much in it, but you see this all the time on social media when it comes to like diehard people on certain opinionated matters. Like, I don't know, I'm just throwing this out. It's just aliens. A random one. Yeah. Aliens do statins work, and like they throw like observational studies, and a lot of these things are full of noise.
Yeah, a lot of studies. It's not a large enough sample size for statistical significance. I mean, there's statistical significance calculators, guys. If you want to jump into it, yeah, we didn't need to do a billion rounds. We did that to like beat it to death. But, you don't have to do a billion round simulation. But, you could say, well, how much do you need for statistical significance? Well, you need more than, I played a shoe and the guy, there's something going viral right now of this guy complaining about how he had a 6-up and he was the only person that needed to take a hit, but then other people hit their stiffs and they ruined up the hand, they ruined the hand. Like, that's anecdotal. That is not statistically significant. And everyone's forgetting the time where someone does something like that. And then, because of that, the dealer busted, whatever.
Let's dovetail into another conversation that relates to that really quick. Just a pro tip. When you get those ploppies that get really upset that you took the dealer bust card because you played something in a way that they disagree with, right or wrong, they disagree with it. It's a power move at the table to point out when you do something they disagree with that it actually helped them win.
I saved the table by doubling my soft 18.
Yeah, point it out to them. That's fun.
Just have a notepad like at the baccarat table where you're keeping track of every hand, what happened.
I don't know about you guys. I don't like conflict, but there's something I never once cared what a ploppy thought by me playing my hand right. Like, I know, he's upset with me. I did not care. As much as I hate conflict, it's like, I know that his logic is so faulty. How could I care?
I mean, why would you care about somebody that 100% is wrong? Why would you care about what they think?
Yeah, and if you're listening to this podcast, it's very likely, you know so much more than these people do. You have so much more knowledge and data. Even if you're kind of a beginner card counter into this, like you have more of that mathematical truth than they do. So you can't let that get to you too much.
And don't try to explain it to them at the table.
No.
It's not going to work.
No, you're just going to frustrate them and frustrate yourself. But this is a little bit tangential, but I want to share it because we just did this boot camp and so I'm thinking about it. There can be a false confidence for a new card counter where they're like, I know so much more than the other people at the table that you think, well, then I must be good. but it's not being better than the other people at the table. It's being perfect at card counting. So if you are newer and you start to notice how poorly other people play, don't assume that means that you have a winning game, because you could be way better than them and still be like, well, they're playing with a 2 or 3% disadvantage. You're still playing with a 0.2% disadvantage. You don't have a winning game. Make sure that that doesn't, inflate your sense of confidence.
Yeah. Don't let the real world become Twitter BS. Don't get that ego.
X.
X. Sorry, Elon. We know you're an avid listener.
And possibly an alien.
And possibly an alien. Yeah. Yeah. If there are aliens, that really high odds that he is one. Yeah, don't let it turn into that in your mind. And arguing some of these things also is the same thing with social media arguing. You're just pounding your head against a brick wall. Like, why are you doing that to yourself?
All right. I need you two and myself to be really honest with this next question.
Oh, yeah. This is a good one.
The question is, they say, I know superstitions don't matter, but even as pros, do you guys have any superstitions about your game that you can stand by? For example, lucky hat, specific routine you do, etc. Anything along those lines.
Colin wears the exact same underwear. I'm just kidding.
He's been wearing the same underwear for
unwashed
22 years. No, I have a funny one that just entertains me, which is I feel like whenever I split 8s, I get delta 5. And I know it's 1 in 13 times, but it feels like 50% of the time when I split 8s, I get delta 5. And then I get to say to the dealer, I knew that, I should have doubled.
That's like the feeling in the high count that you double your 11 and you're going to get an ace.
Yes.
It's like, I know what's happening here. I wouldn't consider it a superstition. I'm not superstitious at all, but I have a rhythm, and I've shared this before. Whenever I go into play, no matter what kind of play it is, whether it's counting or anything else, I hit the bathroom to pee, and I tell myself, you're going to get your ass kicked. Be prepared while I'm peeing at the urinal. And that really just comes from setting up the mind frame to expect getting your teeth kicked in, which comes from skydiving, because we say when we go out the door, you will have a malfunction. And when the malfunction comes, you're like, yeah, I knew this was going to happen. It kind of calms you and prepares your brain and whatever. So I kind of adopted doing that, and I still do it to this day.
I like that because I think that newer card counters get devastated when they walk in expecting to walk out a winner, and 45% of the time you're going to walk out not a winner.
I didn't want to admit this after all these years, but
I knew you were going to be the one that had one.
But I've played with a rabbit's foot underneath the table the entire time. Now, I wouldn't say we have superstitions as pros, but I've noticed that we all have our own, I would say, biases. For example, when I first started, my first trespass happened because I asked the dealer to cut thinner, and I got trespassed right away, right after that. And I didn't really do that very much the rest of my career because I was so scarred from that experience. I remember JC Note the other night at the boot camp talking about how he doesn't like splitting 10s in Vegas because one time the pit boss roasted him for splitting 10s and losing, even though the count was so high. So he doesn't split 10. There's just these things that we do or don't do because.
And maybe it's just a bias. But my whole thing and my advice about going from one hand to two hands, I like to say that it's observational, that I never see ploppies doing it constantly. But the reality is maybe it is a bias that I have because earlier in my career, I saw backoffs happen that I attributed to doing that.
I certainly wouldn't do that at a double deck game.
No.
For some reason, yeah, well, unless I just know that there is zero heat. If I'm worried about backoffs, I would not change the number of spots. Maybe I'd drop a spot if it's like the count really plummets or whatever. But I wouldn't do that at double deck. My bias is I feel natural changing spots at a shoe game, but I might wait till it seems like an opportune time, like I just lost a hand and try 2 spots. But my bias is it doesn't. But I ran a team with a guy that he thought it did look weird, and so yeah, we all have those biases.
Mm-hmm.
Another one for me was when I was starting out listening to Gambling with an Edge. I think I remember Richard saying, don't be that stereotypical card counter walking in there with a hat down low, looking shit. So I never wore a hat playing my whole career because
You did wear a shark hat.
That's true. Yeah, that's the only hat I'll wear.
And a Where's Waldo hat.
My lucky shark hat.
Oh yeah, yeah, and Where's Waldo hat.
Yeah, okay, that's true. But other than that, because
look what happened. You got database entries.
Yeah, but only after the third time. But yeah, so I didn't want to look like that stereotypical card counter. So the opposite approach was kind of more showing myself, but being personable at the table and trying to be a personality. But that was another thing that I just didn't want to do.
Yeah, that one's interesting because hats are such a big wear a hat.
Hey, maybe I have another $1 million with a hat on.
Yeah, I feel like Colin Jones without a hat is a worse call than Colin Jones with a hat at this point.
Probably.
I remember this book came out. Was it Cellini's book, Surveillance Guide to Card Counting or something like that? It came out and it was like, here's your stereotypical card counter. I read it and I was every single one of those things from, $5,000 with a rubber band around it in my pocket to, just every single thing. And I panicked and I was like, here's why, being young, all those things. It was like, I need to retire and then pick this up again in my 60s. That was my first thought. And then very quickly I was like, yeah, that's a dumb idea. Just, yep, you're stereotypical. Just get out there and do it.
This is a little bit related to the other question we had about people complaining, but how do you employ wonging in and out when there's other people at the table who are complaining about you ruining the order of the shoe by you coming in and out?
The biggest thing not to do is just sit at the table, sitting in and out of hands. Gamblers don't do that. Well, there's the rare exception, but that is going to upset players and it's going to look really weird. And I feel like I've tried to talk about this, but wonging should be, you're walking around, you're curious about the tables, you don't know if you want to play, you're watching, you're not hawking, but you're watching. You could be halfway between a blackjack table and a roulette table. And, while the dealer's paying out the blackjack hands, you're watching the roulette table, but you never miss a card. It gets to that wong in point. Maybe it's a true 2. And you say, oh yeah, no, I'm going to join this table. And, then if it gets below true 1 or maybe it drops below a true 1 and you say, hey, I'm going to sit out a hand. I got to figure out how much I'm down. And if the count doesn't come back, you make your exit. You got to be smart about your approach. This is a big thing we're trying to emphasize is if you want a more sustainable career, you can't be a robot. You got to have some common sense in your approach in a casino.
I feel like we should add an additional talk or an add-on in the boot camp based on what you just said, because you're right, like the art of the wong.
I do talk a little bit about it when I talk about.
Yeah, that's right, you do. Yeah, I mean, nothing really to add, just kind of emphasize your quote-unquote act at a casino isn't some grandiose actor play kind of situation. It's blending in. It's looking as if. And so people are constantly standing behind tables. People are constantly watching games. So watch the gamblers and see what they do and just mimic it. And you brought up a great point. My favorite move is having a non-blackjack game by the table that I'm watching, or a sporting event that's above them that I'm interested in.
Yep.
If there is some reason that you have to stay cemented at that table and you can't just, walk away and come back during the next shuffle, I'll ask, hey, can we get a new shoe? They'll say no. And then I'll say, okay, well, I'll just wait till the next one then. Sort of kind of put it on them. Well, you're not letting me get a new shoe, so I'm forced to sit out, and then the other person will probably get annoyed and then leave, and that's good for me anyway.
And you can, let's say, the count drops and you're not going to play the rest of the shoe. you don't have to sit there. You
Yeah.
can say, hey, hold my spot. They'll put a little lammer, whatever they call that thing, over a spot. You go to the bathroom, and then you're not this guy hawking a table, not playing. That's if I wong out, but I know I'm coming back to that table, that's what I do.
Always look like you're so busy that there's something going on. You have to immediately leave. And you don't have to say, I'm going to go to the bathroom. Or like, you don't have to announce what you're doing. Just say, I'll be right back. Can you hold my spot? And then like, I got to go. There's something I have to attend to, like.
I've been called out for the amount of bathroom breaks I take, and I've used the exact same line every time, and it's freaking hilarious. I'm like, well, if your prostate was as large as mine, you'd have this situation too. And they either laugh or they go, oh shit, man, my bad. Like it's one of the two things.
Yeah, just overshare.
Yeah.
And then,
yeah.
In that way.
Yep.
You guys obviously didn't eat the buffet today. Or else you'd be running to the bathroom as much as I am.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. If there's someone out there listening who is interested in card counting, is pretty sure they want to go forward with it, what would you say is like the best way to really dive into the world?
We started Blackjack Apprenticeship to create what we wished we would have had. If you're serious about card counting, you have to get your game to perfect, and I don't think there's a more efficient way. I mean, I could guarantee you there's not a more efficient way to train than our training software. If you're going to use, the system that we teach, you're going to need betting software. And I think we have really powerful, useful betting software. You're going to need to know the rules of the games in all the casinos. And we've got a global casino database in Casino 411. And on top of that, you're going to get access to all these pros, like 7-figure pros. There's nowhere else you're going to get access to that caliber or that number of great players. So, that's my pitch for why a membership is worth a lot more than what we charge for it. And I think the results, prove themselves. We have, guests on all the time that have followed our training and are having success with it. You got to put in the work yourself. But if you are serious, I think that's the training I wish I would have had and tools.
I don't want to beat a dead chicken or however that saying goes. But that was a joke. Joe and I, that's how we both started. Like that's exactly what we did. We started with BJA. We trained, we got better, we learned from the community, we networked with each other, we made friendships, and we grew into 7-figure APs. That's how it happened.
Yeah, I am so proud of. There's tens of millions of dollars taken from casinos from the pros that have come through our training, and it's not because of me. It's because they put in the hard work, but created the tools that could assist those people and serve the mission of helping advantage players take money out of casinos.
I say it all the time. There are famous teams out there: the church team, the Greeks, the MIT team. And these are thought as, the juggernauts of what card counting teams have done. If you made BJA people a quote unquote team, it would dwarf all of those.
It's a cool thought. Yeah.
I need to go on a rant real quick. I'm really sorry, but I just want to get this out. I want to address some of the haters out there.
Yes, haters.
Of me specifically. I think, I try not to go online into certain areas of people talking about blackjack because it's a little toxic, but so I've seen stuff online where it's like, oh, Joe 748, like he's just like an owner of blackjack a shill for Blackjack Apprenticeship because he has stake in the company or something. I have no stake in this company. I don't own this company. I came to BJA with $5,000 and a dream and a little bit of a sick mind, but practice and played my heart out and got that 5,000 up to over 1.2 million from card counting alone. And I couldn't have done it without BJA. It wouldn't have happened without BJA. And I'm not going to pretend like I just made it up myself and I had no help. That's just not true. Like BJA, I had so many resources from BJA to make it happen. So my other note is just be really careful out there, guys, now, especially today, in this world, in this time, because I've seen, with AI, I've seen some websites being started up that sort of just like they're trying to present themselves as card counting, resource memberships and all that stuff, but they're not like BJA is like verified, real people doing this. BJA has put a lot of years into creating all this software and building a huge network of people out there actually doing it. So just be careful with what resources you're using.
And for those haters out there that are attacking my boy Joe, I just want to let you know I eat a lot of protein and I lift a lot of heavy shit. If I see you, you're not going to like your day.
All right. If you're still listening, thanks for listening. Or if you're listening for more fuel for the hatred, well, hopefully we don't see your comments online. But hopefully you enjoy the answers to the questions, and we'll catch you guys next time.